Morning to all of you. So today we start with the same point where we have left to yesterday. Yesterday we have started a lecture on the topic connecting devices. So connecting devices, here we have learned yesterday regarding the passive hubs, active hubs, repeaters, layer 2 switches, bridge, as well as the router. We have learned up to the working principle of the router. Now we have to start from this topic, routing protocol examples, that is RIP for IP routing. So RIP means what? Routing information protocol. It is the oldest one routing protocol. In this particular protocol, we have to use number of hops between the nodes to determine the best path. And do not consider the network congestion condition. Every 30 seconds we have to use the routing table to the neighboring router to convey the routing information. So in every 30 seconds we broadcast the information. Routing information protocol is limited only for the 16 nodes or 16 hops. This is the limitation for this. That's why it is not suitable for the larger network. You can consider as an example of internet. That is a larger network. There is more than the 16 hops are there. So it would create an excessive network traffic due to the broadcasting, and it would take longer time to reach for the distant use. So for that purpose, it would be having some limitations like the connecting nodes and heavy traffic. To overcome this, there is another kind of routing protocol series, that is OSPF, Open Shortest First. Make up the limitation of the RIP, and in general, OSPF follow the best path or the shortest path for routing the information. In the network or traffic congestion also, it would be used. And each router maintains a database for the other router links. Okay. In the case of OSPF, if link failure notice is received, router can rapidly compute an alternating path. So this is the benefit of this routing protocol that is not available with the RIP. So it would be having the intelligence to choose the alternate path. So it would be required more memory, and it would be consume more CPU power. This is the limitation, you can say. Here some comparison between the static and dynamic routers are there. We have discussed yesterday, but just take a quick review. In the static router, we have to be required the manual configuration. In the dynamic router, first configuration is manual and next one would be automatic. In the static router, always use the same route. That's why it is more secure. But in the case of dynamic router, it would be select the best route. So security is less as compared to the static. Now we have to see a little bit differences between distinguish between the bridges and routers. So bridges generally work in the data link layer, routers generally work in the network layer. Bridges forward everything coming to it. It does not recognize it is what kind of the information it is. But router would be always select the best path. Okay. So this is the role of router. Routers are generally used in a layer 3 device which recognize the network address, and bridges are layer 2 device which looks at the MAC sublayer node address. Okay, so these are the some differentiation between the router and the bridges. Okay, in this case, again, we have to be seen the layer 3. We also use the term that is the alternative, you can say, the of the routers. Okay, so layer 3 switches operated both in the data link layer as well as in the network layer. And it could be perform both MAC switching as well as the IP routing. In the router and bridge, we have to see the differences that would be used in the data link layer. That's why they are using the MAC addresses, and in the case of router, it is used in the network layer. So it would be using the IP routing or IP addresses for routing, and layer 3 switches are able to perform both kind of the operation. So it is a combination of switch and router, and it would be much faster than the usual routers and easier to configure as also. There is no any traffic problem for this layer 3 switches, and speed of the LAN is much faster in the case of layer 3 switches, but it is little bit expensive. Okay. So up to that we have to be learned in our syllabus. And one more topic I would be covered in this section, connecting device, that is gateway. So the term gateway is here applied to any device, system, or software application that can perform the function of translating data from one format to the another. The key feature of the gateway is to convert the format of data, not data itself. So it would be only used to convert the format of data, but the data would be remains as it is. So where we use the gateway to connect or to link the dissimilar LANs, we use the gateway. Gateways are basically used in the higher layer of the OSI model, means application, session, presentation, or the transport layers. Gateway transfer the data and convert it according to the protocols used by the receiving network. And it prohibits the direct connection between the two networks. Okay. If you have to be see which kind of the two networks connected by the gateway, so these two networks should be differing, first of all, in protocol, in data formatting structure, in language, in architecture. If such kind of the differences between the two different networks, then we can connect it through the gateway. There is a two types of gateway you can consider. One is hardware, another is software. So in the case of hardware gateway, it is a router that can route the data from IPX, inter-network packet exchange, to the IP network. The same can be said of translational bridge that converts from an Ethernet network to a token ring network and back again. So this is the main function of gateway, hardware gateway, to route the message or data from IPX network to the IP network. But when you have to become for the software gateways, it can be found everywhere. Many companies use the email system, such as Microsoft Exchange, that use the software gateways. This system transmits mails internally in a certain format. When email needs to send across the internet to the users using a different email system, we have seen that software gateways are basically used to transmit the email within a same organization using some system, email system like Microsoft Exchange. But when you have to be need to send the email across the internet using a different email system, means suppose Gmail to Ymail or Hotmail, whatever, the email must be converted to the another format. Suppose someone is using the email address of the Google and someone is using the email address of the Microsoft. So both are having the different system. So at that time, before sending this email, it has to be first converted into the another format, and that is called the SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And this conversion process is performed by the software gateway. This is the main role of the or main function of the gateway. So this is all about the connecting devices that we have to be learn. We have to be just learn the introductory part. We have not to go into very much detail. Now come to the last topic of this unit 1, that is ISDN, Integrated Service Digital Network. So what is the ISDN? The Integrated Service Digital Network is a proposed network designed by the major telephone companies in conjunction with the ITU, International Telecom Union, with the intent of providing the worldwide telecommunication support of voice, data, video, and facsimile information within the same network. Okay. ISDN is a network that proposes to interconnect an unlimited number of independent users through the common communication network. Now we have to see the principles of operation of the ISDN. The main feature of ISDN concept is to support a wide range of voice and non-voice applications in the same network using a limited number of standardized facilities. So voice means we generally use the telephone conversation, and non-voice are the digital transfer of the digital data in the same network. For that purpose, we have to require the use of ISDN concept. So ISDN support a wide variety of applications, including both switched and non-switched connections. Switched connection means we have to be change the customer and the connections, and non-switch means it is a dedicated. So switch connections include both the circuit and packet switch connections and their concatenations. Okay. Apart from this, an ISDN will also contain intelligence for the purpose of providing service features, maintenance, and network management functions. If you have to be seen in the other words, ISDN is expected to provide the services beyond the simple setting of the switched circuit calls. So it would be an enhancement to the regular telephone connections. If you have to be see the older PSTN telephones, landline telephones, that was earlier only for the receiving and sending the calls, means only voice messages. But later on, it would be also included the facility of the internet or the data transfer. So this facility would be provided with the means of the ISDN. A layered protocol structure should be used to specify the access procedure to an ISDN and can be mapped into the OSI model. So standards already developed for the OSI related applications that could be used for the ISDN For example, X.25 label, 3 for access the packet switching services. So I am told you that already. Along with the voice signals, we have to be able to transmit the data in terms of packet switching services. Okay, and X.25 label 3 is what? It is the one of the OSI related application where we can transmit the voice and the data both between the DTE to DC using the packet switching services. Okay. Now we have to be see the conceptual view of the ISDN, how the ISDN would be generally work. So if you have to be seeing this diagram, there is a first section that is in this particular box, that is personal computer, telephone. That is a consumer end actually. It is a consumer premises where a individual consumer could be used either a PC, either a telephone, or maybe if a consumer is not a individual household, it is living in some, they are using these services in some offices or office buildings, so they could be used a PBX, private branch exchange. Okay, or where we are using the LAN and alarm system, other things. So this is the customer ISDN interface, and through this consumer and customers would be used a local subscriber loop that is called the digital pipe. That is called the digital pipe, and that is connected with the ISDN central office. Okay, and in this particular ISDN central office, multiple customers are connected to their digital pipes, and this ISDN central office would be able to provide various kind of services like circuit switching, packet data network, other networks connected to different databases, ATM network. It is connected to various networks for the various services. So we see one by one each blocks. The customer gains the access to this ISDN system through a local interface connected to a digital transmission medium that is called the digital pipe. So this digital pipe is actually used here to connect the customer and this ISDN central office to transmission of the voice as well as the data signals. These are the several sizes of the pipes are available with varying capacities or the bit rates depending upon the customer needs. Means the transmission of data could be varied transmission rates depending upon the customer requirement, but they use a common media that is called the digital pipe. For example, if a residential customer that I have told you that they may be required only a limited capacity to accommodate our telephone or personal computer, but if the customer is from some office complex, they may require a digital pipe with sufficient capacity to handle the large number of the digital telephone interconnected through the on-premise private branch exchange (PBX). They have to be now use a PBX, where the large number of the computers on the LAN network is connected. So this ISDN user network illustrates the variety of network users and need for more than one capacity pipes. So when the office, we are talking about the office complex, at that time it would be required, because in the PBX through the LAN multiple computers are connected, so it would require more than one number of the digital pipes to send and receive the information. Okay. This is a diagram to illustrate the ISDN user network. That is very much similar to the previous diagram. Here you can see the various user to network interfaces like a single ISDN terminal for a individual household customer, multiple ISDN terminals for the office networks or the PBX networks that is connected to the ISDN central system. Then there is a PBX LAN, private LAN networks are there. There is other applications, switching application, packet data applications, ATM network applications, specialized storage and information processing applications are also there. So in this way, ISDN system is connected to the user to the different networks. So if you have to be see in the previous diagram, a single residential telephone is at the lower end of the ISDN demand curve. That is followed by the multiple drop arrangement, serving a telephone, a PC, and home alarm system. And then it would be, if you have to be go into the above in the curve, then you have to be PBX system, industrial complexes are there. That is requirement of the high end of the demand. Means they require a large capacity to handle the hundreds of telephones and the PCs or the LAN. So for a single digital pipe, it is having the fixed capacity. So the traffic on that pipe can be compromised or comprised of the data from a dynamic variety of the sources with varying signal types and the bit rate. So at that time, we have to be required the application of multiplexing, so that using this multiplexing, we can transmit through a single high capacity pipe. Now we have to be see what are the objective of the ISDN network. First objective is system standardization. It is used to standardize the system. Means it should be ensure universal access to the network. Okay. Second objective is what? Achieving the transparency. Means it allows the customer to variety of protocols and applications. Then separating the functions. It does not or it should not provide the services that percolate the competitiveness. It allows a variety of the configurations. Means provide the private line, leased line, switch services, multiple services are there. It addressing the cost related tariffs. That means it is independent of the nature of data. It is directly related to the cost only. It allows the migration. Means it would be provide a smooth transition from one network to the another. And it would also support the multiplexing. By using this principle, you can convert the low capacity pipe to a large capacity pipe. So these are the 7 objectives for the ISDN. Now we have to see the ISDN architecture. If it is possible, you have to draw this diagram. It is very important. The ISDN architecture. So if you have to be see this ISDN network architecture, it is very much similar to the configuration we have seen for the ISDN. What are the important elements here? If you have to be see, this is the customer premises. Here also the customer side, both ends there is the customer side and the service provider and the customer premises is there. Where we have to view the terminal equipment, meaning mobile phone or telephone, actually telephone, and PCs like this. Network termination system is there, block is there, and both are connected to the. Here it is connected to the ISDN switch. Means you have to be shift from the user or customer premises to the network side, and this ISDN switch, there are 2 ISDN switch that is also coming from the service provider side as well as the customer side, and this would be connected to the different operations like the packet switching, circuit switching, frame mode, capabilities, non switched facilities, as well as the common channel signaling. So this is the architecture of the ISDN. Now we have to be see this function, how the ISDN would be function through this architecture network. The ISDN network is designed to support an entirely new physical connector for the customers, a digital subscriber loop, and a variety of the transmission services. So in the initial discussion, we have seen that it is basically designed to support voice as well as the digital data transmission. And because of this digital data transmission, it would be able to provide the various kind of the services. A single interface will be used for telephones, computer terminals, and the video equipment. Therefore, a variety of the or various protocols could be used or provided that allow the exchange of control information between the customer's device and the ISDN network. So there are basically three basic types of the ISDN channels. First is called the B channel, that is having the data rate capacity of the 64 kilobits per second. Second one is the D channel, that is having the capacity either 16 kbps or 64 kbps. And third one is the H channel, that is having the capacity of 384 kbps. In the H channel, there is a certain subdivisions are there: H0, H11, H12, and every channel having the different capacities. Now we have to see how to use these channels or where we have to use. ISDN standard specify the residential users of the network, that is the customers or the subscribers, to be provided with the basic access containing 3 full duplex time division multiplex digital signals. Out of these 3 full duplex time division multiplex digital channels, 2 are operating at the 64 kilobits per second. Means there is a 2 B channels, or B means bearer channels, and 1 data channels means D channel. Okay, and that is having the capacity of 16 kbps. For individual resident user, ISDN network will provide the 3 full duplex time division multiplex digital channel. In these 3 channels, there are 2 is operating at bearer group means 64 kbps, and 1 is operating at the data channel as a data channel, that is 16 kbps. So in this way, the B and D bit rates were selected to be compatible with the DS1 and DS4 digital carrier systems. So the D channel is used for carrying the signaling information. Now we have to see what is the purpose of data channel and the bearer channel. The data channels is used for carrying the signal information and for exchanging network control information. These two information has been carried by the data channel. And the B channel is basically used for digitally encoded voice, and the other for applications such as data transmission and PCM encoded digital voice and video transmission. So this is the role of the data and bearer channels are here. And this combination is called as 2B plus 1D. This kind of service is basically called as basic rate interface, BRI. This is very important. Basic rate interface. In basic rate interface systems, it requires a bandwidth that can accommodate 264 kbps B channels and 116 kbps D channels, plus streaming of data, synchronization of data, and some other overheads bits So in this way, the total bit rate of the BRI is 192 kbps. Okay, so 264 bit means 128 kbps plus 116 bit means 144 kbps, and the difference of both of that, rest of the kbps is utilized by the framing of data, synchronization of data, and some other facilities. The edge channels are used to provide the higher bit rate for a special service such as the fast facsimile, video, high speed data, high quality audio, like this. Now we have to see the BRI. What is the BRI is there? What is the connection? So you have to see BRI basically used by the individual customers, and this is the calculation 2B and 1D, and this in this way 192 kbps of data is sent to the ISDN office when we are using the basic rate interface service. Now the second kind of the interface we have to view, the second kind of service we are used, that is called the primary service or primary rate interface, PRI. It would be provide multiple 64 kbps channels. In the previous BRI, we have only used the 64 kbps channel. Here we have to use the multiple 64 kbps channels that is intended to used by the higher volume subscribers to the network. In USA, Canada, Japan, Korea, generally they use the PRI, not the BRI. And in their PRI, it consists of 23 64 kbps B channels and one 64 kbps data channel. Means 23 bearer channel and one data channel. And combinedly, that a rate of transmission of the data and signals 1.544 Mbps. Means 1.5 Mbps nearly. But when you have to come to the Europe, the PRI interface uses the 30 64 kbps B channel and one 64 kbps D channel, and the combinedly the rate of transmission is 2.048 Mbps. So this kind of the higher data transmission rate is used in the Western countries, and they use the PRI, primary rate interface. If you have to see the structure of the PRI, that is clear from this particular diagram. So if you have to be see here, they are using the 23 64 kbps B channel and one 64 kbps D channel and 8 kbps for this overhead, means synchronization of data, framing of data, like this. So in this way, total 1544 means 1.544 Mbps. Okay. So it is intended that ISDN provide a circuit switch B channels with the existing telephone systems. However, the packet switch B channels for the data transmission. So circuit switch B channel used with the existing telephone system and packet switch B channel for the data transmissions at the non-standard rate. The subscriber loops, as with the twisted pair cable used in with the common telephone network, to provide the physical signals path for the subscriber equipment to the ISDN central office. So basically, a subscriber is connected to the ISDN central office with the means of twisted pair cables. And the subscriber loop must be capable of supporting the full duplex digital transmission for basic and primary rate data rates. Ideally, as the network grows, optical fiber cables will be replaced the this twisted pair cable or metallic cables. So as we have to be required a more higher the data transfer rate, we have to be switched to the optical fiber. And this is the some list of the ISDN services where we have to be see for telephone that transmission rate is 64 kbps. For the circuit switch B channels, for system alarm generation we have to use the 100 bps data channels. Utility company metering 100 bps data channels, energy metering management like this. Video, for video transmission we have to require 2.4 to 64 kbps. Packet switch bearer channels. For transmission of the mails we have to require 4.8 to 64 kbps packet switch B channels. In this way, these are the services used. So this is all about the ISDN services. Okay. So in this way, we have completed our first chapter. At the end, I would show you some one of the video. Please watch this video.